Today I'm reviewing Beaches and Canyons by Black Dice. I'm going to start off by saying that I've never listened to anything quite like this, and the closest thing that I have listened to that is similar to this album is probably Vision Creation New Sun. So if you like that album, I do recommend checking this one out. Beaches and Canyons is about an hour long and it is made up of 5 songs. The intro of the album is Seabird, and I think it sets up the album pretty well. It starts by playing a bunch of kind of noises slash sounds that we're going to hear throughout the entire album, kind of by themselves, and then they keep adding more and more. And then we have this big break, and then it just kind of leaves this empty space to kind of play a few bit more sounds at the end. I do wish that the big break kind of ended the song instead of it just being dead center in the middle and then kind of fizzling out and just nothing for the second half. It makes the intro a bit less exciting, in my opinion. And let's talk about some of the sounds on this album. The few main ones to note that are constantly throughout all the songs on here are it sounds like chirping, I guess, like electronic chirping, or electronic bird noises. And then there's also the like throat humming slash I don't know how you describe it, but it's kind of like a sort of noise. Then there's a few kind of ocean noises. Then there's like really loud drums and stuff. The second track is Things Will Never Be the Same, and it's probably one of my favorite tracks on the album, if not my favorite. Things Will Never Be the Same is a tiny bit like the first one, but in reality, it's just the sounds that are present on this album. They all build up over the 9-minute runtime to eventually break and then kind of fizzle out the very end, like last like 10 seconds. And it's a really good song. The way it builds is able to maintain your attention super well. Black Dice layers all these different sounds and noises throughout the album on most of the parts of this album, which make it so each part's interesting, because there are few moments where it feels like these noises and sounds are kind of secluded, like they're just being played by themselves, or maybe like 2 of them at a time. And those parts I feel like are super weak and they kind of go on for a bit too long, like in the end of the intro. But when they're layered on top of each other and it's like this huge fucking mess of noise, it just sounds incredible. The next track is The Dream Is Going Down, which is, in my opinion, a bit similar to the previous one. Not in a bad way though. I think it's a really good track and it's really interesting. So my favorite parts of this album are when the drums come in, because the drums are so powerful on this album, and they come in and they just demand your presence, and they almost overpower everything, all these other noises that built up to the moment when the drums were coming in, but you can still hear them in the background, which makes it so this song, as well as most of the songs of the album, are very interesting because there's so many different noises happening, especially during the loudest parts. I think Endless Happiness probably does this idea that the album is going for the best. Over the runtime of Endless Happiness, we get these noises secluded, right? We start off with like 1 or 2, and then we add another, and then we add another. And while I mentioned before that when they're by themselves, it's kind of the most boring parts of the album, which I do think is the case partially here. They keep adding another one, then another one, then another one. We have so many different noises happening now, and then the drums come in, and there's this amazing kind of noise happening halfway through the song. However, after this, around like the 9-minute 30-second mark, the song's about 15 minutes. The rest of it, the next like 5-6 minutes of Endless Happiness, is just ocean noises. And I get that the album is called Beaches and Canyons. It feels unnecessary. I feel like at most maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, we would have been good, but the 5-6, kind of crazy. It feels a bit unnecessary because we built up to this huge moment on Endless Happiness in the middle. It feels like it was going to keep going, and then it just turns into beach noises, and it's kind of disappointing, if I'm being honest. Besides that, though, I do think the first half of Endless Happiness is like one of the best moments, if not the best, on the album. The final track is The Big Drop, and I do think the very end of The Big Drop ends off the album really well, because it ends the album off on its best moments, where it's super chaotic, tons of noises are happening. The second half of Big Drop introduces like they're singing like this kind of humming tone, and it just ends on this chaotic note, and it works really well for the album. I do think though the first half of Big Drop, where kind of builds up to this, feels more drawn out than the other tracks, despite being very kind of similar in formula. Overall, I mean, the album is a very interesting listen. It's an hour of this extremely like hypnotic and repetitive music that's able to create a lot of tension and build up to an amazing breaking point of just noise on every single track. I do think the track structure of each song is a tiny bit repetitive, but I feel like they do it in a way that's well. And again, I think the outro, There's a lot of drawn out portions that are kind of just, it makes the outro less powerful. And in the intro, I really like, I feel like the structure of it, having the noises, then the build up of the chaotic, and then just leaving the last like 3 minutes of noise of just random like chirps and shit. It really kind of makes the intro not that great in my opinion. Like it's good, it's okay. Probably my least favorite track on the album. As well as I think the second half of Endless Happiness doesn't ruin the song necessarily, but it really makes the song much worse. I feel like the beach noises just feel out of place and kind of unnecessary. They could have been a lot shorter, and it literally breaks the tension that was building in a very unsatisfying way. I'm going to give Beaches and Canyons by Black Dice a 7 out of 10. That's what I think about the album. Do you like the album? Do you not like the album? Have you listened to the album? Tell me in the comments below. Also, tell me any albums you would like me to review in the comments below, and I'll probably get to them eventually. Or say something else. Anyways, thank you for watching, and have a good day.